Are you tired of all the dating games, rules, and societal norms that make falling in love confusing and stressful?
Then join us as we ditch the script and empower you to establish healthy, conscious relationships.
This weekly podcast breaks down popular dating reality television and educates you on healthy versus toxic dating habits.
I'm Brianna, a licensed therapist.
And I'm Alex, a trauma-informed and certified narcissist recovery coach.
Are you ready to ditch the script?
Oh my God.
I love it.
Hola.
Hey there. Hi there.
Hey there, ho there, how do you do? This is Grove High saying hi to you.
Shut up. Oh my God. Where was that from? The depths of your memory?
Princess Diaries. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was like from Boca High or something.
No, Princess Diaries.
That was incredible. I was like, yep. Mm-hmm.
We're going along for the ride.
What a journey.
We journeyed there together. How are you?
I feel so I've been calling something like being like feeling a little delusional, like Delulu. I'm in like Delulu land.
I like that.
Yeah, so I'm in Delulu land.
Take delusion, but make it Vogue.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's kind of how I feel. Like, I feel both grounded and so far away from here spiritually.
It's like you have one toe on the earth and the rest of you is like
quite literally like hanging on by a string, but in like a good way. Can't describe it. So,
all right.
Good luck with
that. We're hearing, we're listening, and we're getting curious. I'm
Yeah.
about it.
How about you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really, really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I have a big weekend coming up. We're doing Splash House, which is going to be so fun. What?
You're doing Splash House, except you're not working Splash House. That's the incredible shift of this year.
Yes. Yeah. And it's going to be a lot of fun because I am going to go but I'm going to go and not go hard, right?
Like you have to explain what Splash House is so people understand what you mean.
So Splash House is like a giant pool party rave. So it's a bunch of electronic, my mind is escaping me right now. EDM, thank you. And like that kind of vibe. And so, but in a pool. And so, yeah, last year and years before that, I would work the event, and this year I'm going as a patron. But I didn't have to pay for tickets, which was awesome.
Awesome.
We're winning. Yeah. And so, yeah, like the good news is there's not like a bunch of people we want to see. There's only like a handful. So in the in-between, we're going to be like chilling, people watching, we're not going to be like going super hard, because let me tell you, being in the sun all day and alcohol does not mix very well. So we are grown adults, and so we are going to party in a mature way.
Yeah. Check back with us next week on our next recording to see if Alex was able to maintain these boundaries and goals that she's keeping for herself. I hope so. And it's possible.
Yeah, I've actually been complimented on my ability to turn down drinks. They're like, wow, you really don't succumb to peer pressure.
Listen, we should all be saying no to the things that we do not want to participate in. And I hope that we are surrounded by people who support us in saying no. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really important.
I've already had that conversation with the person I'm going with. And so I have a game plan. And they're totally respectful and supportive of it. So, we're Gucci. In the meantime, it's just vibes.
I'm really excited for you.
We're focusing on what to wear. Yeah. It's gonna be a good time.
We're putting together an outfit. Oh, like, you know how we engage in like a pre-date ritual? This is like a pre-pool party rave. Yeah, pre-splash ritual.
Yeah, thrifting.
Fun. I like that. I was once in a 30th birthday weekend with a couple girls, kind of like a bachelorette vibe, where it was like birthday girls, like relevant peeps, relevant friends. And two of the girls, so we were like, getting ready to go to dinner. We were kind of like pre-gaming dinner a little bit. which is a move, but we were taking shots, and so we're passing these around, and the two of the girls that we were with were like, "Oh, no, thank you," and we were like, "Cool, girl, no problem."
Mm.
And then they sort of said in this like almost hesitant kind of way, like, "Oh, it's nice not to have to like defend
Yes.
saying no." And I was like, "I'm
Yes.
sorry. Are you sometimes in a situation where people make you feel like you have to defend saying no to a shot?" And they're like, "Yeah, sometimes our friends and these like, trips that we do, blah, 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 they kind of like, see that everyone's taking a shot at the same time." And I was like, that's not cool. To be
No.
honest, I don't think people should do
Uh-huh.
that. And I don't think
No.
that that should be normal. So I'm sorry your
Yeah.
friends do that sometimes. I hope that they stop.
Yeah, I used to have lots of friends like that.
Yeah.
And actually what's really cool about my friend group now is they know me so well that after I've had a drink or two and they've seen that, they know that's my limit and they
Yeah.
stop buying me drinks. And it's so
Nice.
cute cuz like even on my birthday, like we were all out and I had a drink or two and I stopped and I told them I'm done for the night. And then
Hmm.
like one of there's always that person in every friend group that like constantly buys everybody around and they like bring it
Hmm.
over. Like they don't tell you. They just arrive and they're like, "Here's all the shots for everybody," right?
Right,
So
right, right,
he
right.
comes back and he was like, "Shot for you, shot for you, shot." And he gets to me and he's like, "Alex, I assumed you didn't want one." And I was like, "You got me." Like
Yeah,
it
it's
was like
nice.
I didn't even have to explain, like they anticipate that in me now because they've seen it. And I love that because they're right. Like it
Hmm.
really is so uncomfortable to like have a limit, hold your limit, and then to have people like push or question when it's like, no, like I don't want it. It's like
Hmm.
it feels really violating to be like,
Hmm.
"What are you saying? Come on, you're so wimpy." And it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, rude. This is
Yeah.
showing me way more about you than it is about me.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I totally
Yeah.
agree. It's not the vibe.
Not the
Um,
vibe.
okay, cool. Well, I'm excited for you. You're going to party responsibly and you're going to tell us all about it. And I can't wait to hear.
Yeah, me too. It's gonna be so
Mm.
fun. Hopefully, I get some cute photos of my cute outfits, even though I only have one cute outfit currently planned. But we'll figure it out
It's going to be cute. You want to know why it's going to be cute regardless of what you're wearing?
because
Because you're
I'm in
gonna
it.
be, yeah, what, yes. First of all, I was gonna say that, and because you're excited, you're stoked, you're happy about who
Yeah.
you're with, like that's gonna it just those comes through in the pictures
Yes.
regardless of
Always.
what's clothing your body.
Yeah. 100%. Yep.
Hmm.
Facts.
So the ultimatum journey
The
continues.
ultimatum. Episodes 5 and 6.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
excited.
I know. Just any like initial, something that I want us to do,
Hmm.
somewhere in this episode, could be in the beginning, at the end, it doesn't matter, in the middle. I want us to play Snog, Marry, or Pie with the current characters.
All right. I think we should start with it and
Okay,
we can
cool.
do a rapid fire. But to
Love it.
answer your first question around like any things that I
Like
want to
thoughts.
say,
Yeah.
yeah. My thing is there's well, one people say so many things without saying anything. Like
Yeah.
I feel that what's happening especially in these episodes is there's people that are now confused or conflicted around like what they want. And so the way this is showing up in the way that they talk to their old original partners and their new partners, they aren't no one, I think it's very rare. There's the select few who are like, this is what I want. And there's so many other people that are like, speaking in the best way I can describe this is like fairy tale la la poetic like type idealities that aren't grounded in
Yeah.
reality, and there's no direct like this is what I'm aiming for. It's just like I love you and I love spending time, like it's very lofty in that way, but there's
Yeah.
no like I need to figure out what I want. Like they're not having that conversation. They're just like these are my feelings. So it's
Yes.
interesting because I think that a lot of people can get hyperfixated on what they're feeling, especially when there's so many like, on the one hand, I'm feeling good about this, but then on the other hand, I'm feeling anxiety about seeing my original part. And what I guess what I'm trying to say is when we are seeking reassurance from somebody and they don't know, it can come across in these super lofty ways because they themselves don't know what they want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. It's hard to get realistic with a person whose words don't have much weight. Because, and it's not even
Yes.
that their
Thank
words
you.
don't have too much weight, because sometimes people do that on purpose to sell a dream and to sell a promise. But
And
a lot of
sometimes people
times,
do it because yeah.
they don't know,
Yeah.
and they want to survive this conversation, this conflict, this
Exactly.
moment.
Yes. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is just a quick tip. If you're the one on the receiving end where you're asking for clarity, but they aren't really giving you clarity, they're speaking very much in like lofty, type fairy tale ideals that we're talking about here. Like, you can either do two things. One, hear that and tell yourself like, okay, this might mean that this person doesn't quite know, and you
Mhm.
either make peace with that, right? And you're like, okay, they're still figuring it out, but this is how they currently are feeling because they
Mhm.
communicated that. Or you can ask the clarifying question,
Mhm.
right? Thank you so
Mhm.
much for sharing all that with me. Circling back, any
Mhm.
idea which way you're leaning or how you're feeling about me right now
Mhm.
and what you
Mhm.
want from us, right?
Mhm.
Like, I just, there were a few moments where I really wish that people were actually having honest, real conversations, especially going back to their original partner about like, this is what I learned and this is what I need from you if this is going to work out. And that's not really happening.
I can't wait to hear who you're talking about specifically.
Okay. Okay,
I
great.
can't
Well, there's a
wait.
couple people.
Yeah.
Okay, Snog Mary Pie, let's go. This is going to be fun. Huh.
Yeah.
Mal.
Okay. Is
Snog.
what? Okay.
Actually, I
Okay.
would probably marry Mal.
Okay. You're marrying Mal. Who are you snogging?
Xander.
And who are you pieing?
Vanessa.
Yeah.
What
One,
about
two,
you?
three. Um, I'm gonna snog Mal.
Okay. Ooh, who are you going to marry?
I'm gonna marry Sam.
Oh, yeah, she's great. She's so great.
I'm literally gonna marry Sam. I hope to marry someone like Sam. I
She's
really
super
do.
articulate. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
she's just patient, and she's kind, and
Yeah.
she's her she as great of a partner as she started out as,
Mm-hmm.
she still found ways to reflect on her own role instead of just being like, I'm a great partner, I have nothing to improve on because I am always the healthiest person in these situations. I don't know if she ever has that thought, but I have that thought about her.
Yeah.
And she's like, and I'm realizing I need to speak up for myself a little bit more. And I'm just like, yeah, you're the type of partner that I want to be with, like someone who takes responsibility for themselves, like sees that they do everything in their power to try to be
Mm-hmm.
in a conscious relationship with another person and is still looking to evolve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And listen, Vanessa's an easy pie, but I'll tell you who I'm going to pie for the sake of shock and awe.
Okay.
I'm gonna pie Lexi.
Yes. That was my other one, especially these two episodes.
Oh my god, do I want to fucking throw a goddamn whipped cream pie in her
I know.
face?
Yeah. I know. I was really disappointed because like she has so many moments where she's emotionally mature and intelligent, and then there's other moments where it's like, oh, this is why you're 24.
Oh
Right?
my god,
Like,
exactly.
yeah. So let's get into it, shall we?
Okay, a good teaser. Like the
Such a
rest of the
great
episode is why are
teaser.
we mad at Lexi?
Why are we mad at Lexi? And who the fuck is Alex talking about with these like weird concepts she's trying to
Who's being
describe?
lofty? Who's selling
Yeah.
a dream? Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we're wrapping up like the last couple of days of the first trial marriages with the new partners, and then we
Hmm.
see everyone come back together at their weird round table moment, and then we see them initiate their like trial marriages with their former partners, which I
Oh,
forgot
geez.
that was a part of this show structure
Yep. Yep.
every time. So okay, we start. Yoli tells Xander that Ray and Vanessa hooked up.
Yeah.
We start to see
And
Xander's response to that. What do you think?
well, I don't know if Xander fully understood what Yoli was trying to express about like how it didn't mean anything to her. I think Xander is just lost in their emotional sauce. And I get
Yeah.
it. Like, it's really hard like coming up for air from a relationship with someone like Vanessa who takes up a lot of space purposefully. Like, I'm going to this is my idea on Vanessa. I feel like she takes up a lot of space in a manipulative, calculative way. It's like, if I don't stop talking, you're not going to be able to think and process and catch me in the loopholes that I'm spinning, right? Like all these things. And so to come up for air, and like Xander starts to express this with Yoli on their last night together. She's like, it's so nice to be in a safe, stable environment. She's like, I love feeling this way because of the contrast of like what she wasn't feeling with Vanessa. And so when Yoli starts to like describe these things, I think there's a part of Xander that again still wants to protect Vanessa, but there's also a part of Xander, because now with what she's experienced with Yoli in contrast to what she's experienced with Vanessa, is I think starting to be like, wait a second, like something's not right here. But it's very like, I guess what I'm trying to say is she's going through a lot of cognitive dissonance right now, Xander.
Yes.
Like she or they, sorry, are trying to make sense of it. And I feel for them. I so feel for them.
Yeah. I would love to stay on the Xander Yoli track for a moment. Because I agree with you. We at least the first time that I see this in these two episodes, like we already saw that they were connecting and that they're really vibing with each other. They're communicating pretty well. They're having sex, like they're feeling very connected. But of course, in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, well, this relationship exists in a very specific container. So let's see what happens when new elements play in. And then they meet one of Xander's best friends, and Xander's best friend is sort of like, I'm going to be totally real with you, dude. Vanessa's like not my favorite person. I haven't always loved the way that Vanessa treats you. She calls something to Vanessa's patterns of behavior that Yoli was like, non-verbally was like, yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. Where it's like, I thought this was important. In conflict, when things get messy, Vanessa starts to distract to bring attention back to her.
Yeah.
In a very serious way. I'm going to be totally honest, you guys. A lot of times we learn that from like dealing with like living in conflict with our caregivers, our early caregivers. It's like, bad things are going on, must bring attention to me. This is how we regulate the room. I don't know exactly if that's like her story. We do learn that like her parents are split up. That's such a small morsel of information, and I cannot make big suggestions on that. I just want to say these patterns exist, and they exist for a reason. So obviously it developed somewhere.
And I also think okay, so we might debate this. We might debate this, but I am so fascinated to hear. I think divorce is way less of an issue for children if the parents can actually function as parents still, right? Like
100%.
I think so many people are like, we need to stay married for the kids, but staying together in a toxic environment is way worse for the child's development and emotional safety than just splitting up and having two healthier households for the child to grow and develop in. And so, like, yes, Vanessa's family may have split when she was young, but and I'm not saying that you were saying this, but I think a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, they're divorced, that's why. And it's less about that divorce, and there's way more. There is something between her relationship with her father or mother that has her trauma responding in this way.
Yes,
we don't know what it is, but I want to share that because I think there are so many people who come from divorced families who are healthy fucking human beings. But so many, the perception of divorce on a child's development, I think, is actually super inaccurate. I think there's a lack of education there.
Absolutely. And to blur those lines even more, it's like, so if parents are together, they can be messy and create some of these patterns for their children. And and these are survival patterns for their kids. Like, it's emotional survival. It's like, this doesn't feel that I feel disrupted. That obviously kids aren't naming this, but I feel disrupted. I need to figure out how to feel safety. And then you find something that works and you just keep repeating the behavior. But but sometimes even when people split up, they still do that in a really unhealthy way, and they still act really like unhealthy with each other in their caregiving. So it's just like the responsibility is always going to come down to the adults in this situation. The authority in the environment are responsible for creating as much of a healthy flow in their caregiving for their child, regardless of what they're dealing with, whether they're navigating the challenges of being married or they're navigating the challenges of splitting up and trying to be healthier versions of themselves. Parents can't do it perfectly. I have a lot of grace and flexibility for people who are trying to go through this. But like, yes, Vanessa's going to continue to get a lot of heat. And I just want people to remember that like her behaviors fucking suck. And it's so weird. I didn't plan on saying this. It comes from trauma. Like, I just want us to like continue to see people through the lens of being human beings and like people who are wounded.
Okay, can I piggyback off of that?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to say something that might piss somebody off, especially if they've been with a narcissist. And if that's you listening to this, I just want you to know I love you and I see you. And if you are in your anger response, freaking stay there. You're allowed to be angry at the narcissist and think they can burn in hell. That's okay. Like that's a part of the healing process. I don't want to invalidate that for you. But for the sake of education, this is exactly what narcissism is. And a lot of people think like these people are just born out of the womb as these little demons that want to run around and hurt everybody, but that's actually not the case. Narcissism and cluster B personality disorders in general, and I'm going to stay in my zone of genius because that's all I really know. Like I'm not going to sit here acting like I know all things about all disorders. I don't.
Yeah.
But the reality is narcissism comes from trauma that is so severe and unresolved. And that inner vow actually that a narcissist makes to themselves is I refuse to feel shame at all costs. Right. So that's why they use the tactics that they use. And we see a little bit of some narcissistic tendencies with Vanessa, but it's not that I think Vanessa is inherently bad. It's again, there's something from her past that causes her clinging on to these behaviors. And so I agree with you, Brie. I think like we need to make space always. Does that mean, and this is why I wanted to bring this up, because sometimes when I share this with people on lives and I explain, because people ask me like, where do they even become narcissistic? And I go into this. A lot of people, one, either get mad because there's no way that person is like avoiding shame. Like they could never feel shame. But the reason you perceive them that way is because of their disorder. And so that's that. And the other thing is some people start to feel so empathetic and sad for that person that they end up, sorry, my screen just went all crazy.
It's okay.
They end up, feeling so empathetic towards them that they go back and they're like, well, let me give you extra grace because you're really just healing from trauma. And the reason I want to bring this up is we can acknowledge that someone has trauma and that the way they behave is not okay, but it's because of the trauma and still decide to not be with them. I think so many people are like, oh, well, because it's trauma and they need to heal, I'm going to stay with them. And it's like, no, you still get to decide. This isn't healthy. They're not treating me in a healthy way. They're human and they've been through some stuff and that's why they're treating me this way. But I'm still going to do what's best for me. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes, exactly. I know exactly what you mean. That was a really important, albeit tangent from both of us, but important to sort of remind people. And it does kind of circle back to Xander, because with the space that Xander has had to be able to be in an actual, like, Xander got lucky being in a relationship and trial marriage with Yoli, because Yoli was open and in due part to Mal's concerns about Yoli. Yoli is open to others, falls hard and fast for others. So Xander really got this prime experience of having someone love them in a way that is healthier and more grounded and more stable. Is it perfect? No. And obviously we see a lot more go on, but with that space, it's really amazing for Xander to be able to be like, oh, this is what a different kind of connection feels like. This is what it feels like to not, they're not saying this, but we can name it. This is what it feels like to be in a relationship with someone and not have my nervous system like be triggered and go offline all the time.
Constantly.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and like Xander has said that they have had to like work so hard just to get Vanessa's attention, approval, like to get on board, to see the same goals for themselves in their relationship. And honestly, 4 years of trying to do that with one person is way too fucking long. Way too long. Sometimes you have to do it to learn about that, but just what I'm saying. And now Xander's like, okay, here's Yoli. I have fears that like Yoli and Xander are not going to end up together. But what my hope is that it doesn't really matter, because what my hope is that Xander at least gets to learn from the experience that being loved by Yoli and having the opportunity to love someone like Yoli can allow for them to be like, whatever's going on with this person, Vanessa, that I've been in a relationship for a really long time is actually no longer enough for me.
Mm.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
we don't know.
Yeah. 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 The other thing I want to say, and actually, the person I watched this with brought this up, and I thought this was like such a great point, is we talk about Xander and Vanessa. We hear that they started dating when they were young, and they're also each other's first, assigned female at birth
Yeah.
relationship, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so, um, the amount of attachment to, I can only imagine, because again, I'm not going to act like I know what this feels like, but I can only imagine the attachment one may feel with their first
Partner,
homosexual
like
type
queer, like
experience. Yeah.
queer
Yeah.
relationship.
It's like that you're coming out together, you're exploring all of that together. It's new, it's different. I can only assume how freeing that might finally feel to be able to like explore that side of someone's sexuality, right? And like how
Mm-hmm.
personal that is and vulnerable that might feel. And so I do think a part of Xander has like clung on to Vanessa, perhaps because of that correlation in her mind, like that association of like, this was that first everything. And that can feel really intense,
It
you
can
know?
feel really intense, and it goes deeper than that because of their friendship before then. They've known
Yes.
each other through a lot of different
School.
seasons that,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like sometimes there's not for everyone, but sometimes there's this like clinging to hanging on to friendships that were with you in middle school or high school, even if the relationships aren't really working anymore, because you're like, but this
Mm,
person has been in my life for so long. Like they knew me at this very specific and vulnerable and awkward time of my life and we know development, that like, what does it mean to not have this person in my world anymore? And
yeah.
the honest truth is, babes, is like, if you don't like how this person is treating you now and you haven't liked how this person has been treating you for a while and everyone else in your life
Can see
sees
it.
it, yeah, get the fuck like who, like not who cares, that's a little like cross, you know what,
But I
I'll own
get
it.
it.
In my life
Yeah.
I'm like, who the fuck cares at that point?
Yeah.
Be gone.
Yeah.
Be gone. Okay, so Yoli. Yoli is in
Spiraling.
this moment. Yeah, Yoli's
Yeah.
spiraling. And the thing is like, at first when Xander's friend was like, why haven't you said that you love each other yet? I'm like, whoa, my friend, it's so early. Why are we saying I love you? It's been 3
Yeah.
weeks and we came here with other people. What are we saying? We love each other. But that's just a me discomfort thing.
Yeah.
Um, but it was interesting because they did end up saying I love you to one another. And
Yeah.
the thing that I just want to bring up in this moment is like, Yoli, I don't fault Yoli for being open to Xander and also sharing a little bit of her fears of like, I do fall hard and fast, and so like even being in this place, like this scares me. Like I feel it, but I'm also afraid of it. Um, but it is interesting because Yoli is doing a thing that Mal was very fearful
Called.
of,
Yeah.
and naming.
Yeah. 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 Mal was like, she waters the grass wherever she goes, which is, relationships in general are like that. You have to water your relationship. And if you
Yes.
don't, yes, that's exactly like, but yeah, I think what Mal really was saying is like out of sight, out of mind, like whoever's in front of her, that's who she falls in love with. That's who she focuses on. And so it'll be interesting to see. I'm really interested to see, when they moved back in together, how that was going to be for Yoli. And we get to see some of that, which I'm surprised. I'm also really interested to see in the next episode, like how that continues to come up moving
Mm-hmm.
forward. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah.
All
Who
right,
should
who
we
are we going
pivot
to
to?
next? Vanessa and Ray.
Yeah.
So Vanessa comes home from the like group thing where basically she's getting grilled.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not like how Vanessa triangulates Lexi, or just straight up gossips about Lexi, and is like, Lexi got her people on her side, is what she says. And then Vanessa starts to tell Ray that Lexi said that Ray was like bragging about Vanessa being inside of her, which is not the truth at all. So there's a lot of like distorted truths and storytelling going on when Vanessa comes back to like paint this picture about Lexi being a gossip, which was not spot on. And so that was really scary for me to watch, because I'm like, great, now Ray's gonna think that, you know, this is what, you know, Lexi was saying and doing, and now she's gonna go back to Lexi. So it's just,
a mess.
that was
It was a mess.
Yeah. I don't know about these two.
I think that, like, yeah, Vanessa, it's interesting to, my perspective is, it's interesting to see Vanessa navigate conflict that could be focused in on her. She doesn't really let the finger pointed at her for too long, and she uses humor and like kind of like crass jokes to like
deflect,
either make the moment lighter or get the attention off of her. Yeah. And unfortunately, that sucks and can also be effective in a heated moment, especially for someone like Ray, who really doesn't want to be in this conversation at all and would like to like stop talking about it and like be anywhere else. So like Vanessa and Ray, they don't actually get very deep in their time spent together. It's a very like immature connection, I'd say.
Yeah, very.
And I think like Ray is so avoidant and so doesn't want to go there with Vanessa. And Vanessa is like happy to keep this like light and bubbly, like everything is just so fun, super fun, such a vibe. Let's get our nipples pierced. La 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 la. Let's go meet my dad, which was her meeting with her dad. Fucking so bizarro. Awkward.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting how Vanessa's like, I haven't seen or talked to my dad. Like, she was very much implying they don't have like a tight-knit relationship. And then dad clearly didn't know she was going on this show or what the show was about, because the whole first part of the conversation is her telling her father like what she's doing, why she's on this show. And it very much felt like a PR move on both of their parts, Vanessa and her father's part. And then what I thought also was really interesting was her father's idea of like a 7-year lease instead of marriage. Like, he's like, I think we should lease people and then decide if we want to renew our commitment with them, which I won't lie, there's a part of me that understands what he's trying to say.
I got that too.
Yeah, but I also like, it felt so, I mean, I don't know, if it was interesting. I'm still chewing on that one to decide like how that makes me like, where is that with him? Jesus, I'm not one with the words today, but where within him did that come from? Like, what had he experienced? Has he gone through in his relationships, you know, to make him think that it's not sustainable ever? Because I don't necessarily agree. I do agree that some people have a very wrong idea of what long-term relationships are, for sure, which can make people think, yeah, I'll be over this in about 7 years, right? But I do think that long-term relationships are possible, and they're possible to be very great and fulfilling, right? Like, I don't know. It was interesting.
Yeah, the two of them together was kind of like this politician song and dance.
Exactly.
Very performative.
Very. Yeah. Sorry about that.
So that's okay. It's 9 a.m. where Alex is, and we give her grace and all of the caffeine, send the caffeinated vibes her way.
For real.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess what I'm not surprised by is that this like sort of mucks up all of their thoughts as they prepare to reintegrate with their partners for Ray and Vanessa. I had a thought. This is not really addressed in any of these episodes, but I'm really curious. Like, had Ray been a person that was like super into Vanessa and like really like fell for her tricks and games, you know?
Yeah.
And like drank her Kool-Aid. I wonder how Vanessa's outcome would have been. Like,
I think she would have pulled a Colby.
Yeah. Which is because Colby was like super down, trying to like date everyone, like really like find his match, and then went back to what's her name
and got married. But I mean, like, I think she would have gotten married. I think she would have pushed for that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because look at what we see her do. Should we go on to Vanessa and Xander?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Let's.
So Vanessa and Xander move back into each other, and right from the get-go, it's like, I love you, lots of hugging, And then we see Vanessa, like the next day, change her tune about marriage. And she's like, I'm ready to get married to you. And it's super weird because literally last week we were watching Vanessa gag, like legitimately gag at the word monogamous or monogamy. And now she's like, and also, right before at the little dinner table, didn't she say, like, shouldn't I maybe like every couple years I'll have a fling and that'll like be enough for me? It's like, whoa, we're going from trying to figure out if you need a fling every couple years and gagging at the idea of monogamy to now telling your original partner, I'm ready to marry you. Riddle me that one, Batman. Like,
And Xander is like, Xander's not processing this out loud with us, but what Xander is showing is that they are having a little voice, their intuition
mm-hmm.
saying, don't believe what you're hearing from this person right now. But it's very intoxicating to hear from a person that you have loved and been pining after for 4 years plus. I imagine that Xander had a crush on Vanessa way earlier than they're dating. And to see that that person is like basically giving you everything that you've ever wanted on a silver platter, there's going to be parts of you that go, oh my God, finally, thank God I've been waiting to hear this. And there's going to be another part of you that's like, something about this doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound
mm-hmm.
right. It's not feeling like there's a lot of weight to it. And I want people to know that if you relate to that, you're not being difficult by being like, even though this is what I've wanted to hear, I'm still not like totally satisfied and I don't really know why.
Yeah.
Listen to that voice.
Yeah. 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 For real. The other thing that Vanessa did or pushed that I thought was a little icky was she was trying to ask for all the details of what Xander did with Yoli. And I was really like physically.
Yeah.
And so I was really proud of Xander for being like, no, because
Nah.
like she's trying to respect Yoli's privacy, but also
Mm-hmm.
like not only did she say no, she stood up for herself and was like, I'm just a little confused as to why you want to know that. Like, what's the point of you
Yeah.
trying to know that? And I thought that was a really good question to ask because I think for a lot of people, they think knowing the details of what happened is going to make them feel better. And it's actually the worst. It's the
Mm-hmm.
opposite. And it's going to make more resentment build. And so it felt icky. There's a part of me that felt Vanessa wanted to know, and I'm making this assumption, everybody, but there's a part of me that was wondering if Vanessa wanted to know details to hold it over Xander's head, like
I
in
had
the
the same
future.
thought. I had the
Yeah,
same
where it's
thought.
like, yeah, I'm gonna play all happy and like I don't care now, but the second you piss me off, I'm gonna use that against you. Like, well, you fucked
Yeah,
this other
she's
girl, you did this.
gathering
Yeah,
she's gathering
weapons.
grenades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was really proud that Xander didn't say anything, at least on camera.
I really think, and I think that this isn't surprising to anyone, but what Vanessa is doing with Xander when they reconnect, the big gestures, oh my God. Talk
I
about
know.
like manipulation, like
On
text,
10.
like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
literally, like look up the definition. You will see a photo or a video of Vanessa
Vanessa.
pulling out all the stops, arranging for a hot air balloon ride, and a written speech of how much I love you and how much I want this. Like, I listen, you guys, like, I don't mean to sound like a total cynical naysayer, but she is doing this so that her own self-preservation can continue to thrive.
100.
I would love to make an assumption where maybe I am not allowed to have one, but Vanessa has had heat on her. She's
Yeah, this
calculated, but
whole
she's not
time.
stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not stupid. She knows that people are targeting her because they're seeing
Mm-hmm.
through her bullshit. And
Yeah.
Vanessa is being painted as a person who really doesn't have the right intentions. And she knows that the person that she has the most influence over is Xander. If there's anyone, any storyline that's going to make her look good, it's going to be the storyline of a person who didn't want to get married that is now saying how much that they do know that they want this with this other person.
Yeah.
That is not real. It is a
No.
move.
Yeah, it is a move. It's so annoying. There's so many unhealthy moves throughout this whole. I just remember being like, that's a move, that's like there's just so many little icky manipulative, passive aggressive, like things that have been coming up these last 2 episodes. And on Vanessa's the most clear display of it all, but damn.
Um, before we go to like Mal, Yoli, Lexi, let's pivot to Sam, Tiff, Aussie, Mildred.
Okay. So first of all, Sam and Tiff have like the most beautiful friendship. I loved seeing that. I loved seeing and hearing that, yeah, they had a rocky start, but they started to like use their friendship to work on communication skills and setting boundaries. Like it really seemed like that was amazing for them. And then what I thought was super cute is when Tiff introduces their friend to Sam, this friend is like, look at her body language. She's into you. I think you guys should hook up. I think you guys should, like, very much trying to wingman and call Tiff out for being the one that was closed off to the experience. And you see them that night, like, kind of try to be physically intimate, but turns into some giggles. Yeah. But what I do think is funny, actually, this kind of reminded, do you remember my first kiss when you were there with me? This reminded me of that.
At the top of the movie
parking
theater
garage. Yeah, exactly. At the movie theater. And there you were on the phone with your first little boyfriend at the time. Yeah. And I just remember you being like, they're doing what we would do, except we'd be making out by now. Like you were like, they're flirting, but they're still not kissing. I remember that. And that was what I felt like I was watching last night. Was like, I was the one being like, they're just all this flirty banter and like these like hinting at like, touch me here, do this with me here. Like, you know, they're circling around the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
And I just really brought me back. Yeah. I felt like I was you.
A quick question. When you were like trying to do this thing with this boy, could you hear me?
Yeah, I did hear that. But it didn't feel icky. No, I thought it was adorable. Like it stuck with me this whole time but it's true. So don't feel weird about it.
Yeah. I think the critical part of myself is like, Brianna, like, first of all, rude. Second of all, like volume awareness. The amount of times that people have told me like, hey, like it's really loud and like you're being super loud. And I'm like, this is a TGI Fridays. Like I have to be loud here.
But those were the vibes.
Okay, I hear you. You're like looking at it and you're like, you guys are cute. Like, and I get it. Sometimes like it's hard to know if there's actually physical attraction here. I think Sam was feeling it for Tiff, and I think that Tiff was just too hesitant, or maybe Tiff just truly doesn't feel it for Sam. What?
I think Tiff is the Xander to Mildred.
Tiff is the Xander to Mildred. Oh, in that like Tiff is really caught in a web with Mildred and like having a hard time exploring what a healthier connection looks like with someone else.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. I think Mildred and Tiff, I don't think we know at this point that they lean on their sexuality, their sexual connection to get them through challenging moments. But as you and I discussed last week, problems aren't solved that way. You're just fucking to like get the dopamine hit and like pretend that everything's okay. And so, you know, I definitely 100% feel that Tiff has so far I haven't seen obviously all of the episodes, but there's a part of me that feels just watching Tiff with Sam, there's a possibility that they have the opportunity to really develop and become a conscious partner. Whereas I feel Mildred is less open to that. I think Mildred's more stuck in her ways and is like very much my way or the highway in her relationships and how she wants things to be said and done, which leaves no room for her growth. And so I do think that Tiff would have way better relationships and opportunity for stable, secure connection outside of her relationship with Mildred. But she is so hyper fixated on the sex that they have with Mildred that they can't even begin to be open to different sexual connections with somebody else.
The way in which you just absolutely called all of that out. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know, because I truly do think it's spot on. I think I agree with you as well about Mildred. I'm sorry, about Tiff. I think Tiff has, I agree with you about Mildred as well, but Tiff does have the room to develop in their skills to be a better partner. I mean, you saw it from the beginning, even though they brought all of their anger, and they said this too. This is also why they brought all of their anger into their relationship with Sam. Soon after that switch happened, like, but there was still curiosity from the get of like, I really want to learn how to be a better partner.
Yeah.
It's that ability to shine the light on, I know I need to fix stuff. I just need to figure out what it is. And then I think I can figure it out, is why Tiff will continue to be successful. If they stop dating people that are either whether they're in dynamics with Mildred or they're in dynamics similar to the one that they're in with Mildred.
Yeah.
And like, they really can grow. I think that they're a good partner. I love how silly they are. I love how they use their humor to even like bring intimacy a little bit closer. And actually, I'm going to take back what I said about Tiff maybe not feeling Sam, because I agree with you that I think that they're so deep in their thing with their connection with Mildred, or that like intoxication in Mildred, that it's hard to like really branch out and like be open to someone else. But I actually think that Tiff is more open to that physical side with someone else, like even just because with humor, like way more openness to like touch Sam and like joke about it. But yeah, I would have loved to see what would have happened if they had more time together.
Agreed. So then here's where I kind of, at the dinner table or whatever, I kind of get upset with Tiff, only because, well, no, maybe before we go down that road, we explain what happened with Aussie
and Mildred.
Yeah. Okay, so press pause on the Tiff dinner situation I was about to talk. We're gonna shift over to Aussie and oh my god, Mildred.
Millie Mill.
Millie Mill. So so Aussie, we learned last week, is avoidantly attached from her original partner, Sam. She shares that information with us, which means when Aussie gets overwhelmed, she tends to shut down. She goes internal. She wants to avoid conflict. She needs a moment to be able to get back to stasis. And the thing with avoidantly attached people, and I really, I get this question all the time. How do you tell the difference between someone who's avoidantly attached and someone who's narcissistic? And the difference is the intent. Because we see Aussie struggle with the avoidant, I'm shutting down. I'm going into a stonewalling pattern because I'm feeling too overwhelmed to articulate right now, right? Whereas narcissists stonewall as punishment. You see what I'm saying? So Aussie got overwhelmed. She advocates for her needs in such a, Aussie advocates for their needs in such a grounded, like, I'm not open to having this conversation with you. I'm not going to talk to you when you're like this. And she leaves the room, and she does the right thing. Gosh darn it. I'm so sorry, everybody. Aussie does the right thing. And so what I don't like is that Mildred takes this information to the dinner table and starts to say how Aussie left, just dipped out, and very much paints this picture like Aussie just gave up.
Right.
And then this is where what I was going to say about Tiff that I didn't like. Tiff jumps in and starts to say, if you were married, you can't just leave. Why would you do that to your partner? And gets really very Xander protecty of Mildred, just the way that we've been seeing Xander protect Vanessa. Okay, so thoughts, comments, concerns on this, on everything that we just kind of ran through.
My biggest concern is like, first of all, I do want to say that I know that it is frustrating to be in conflict with someone who's avoidant and needs to leave.
Yes,
I know that that's frustrating.
Me too. Yeah, and it can feel really abandon-y.
And it can feel hard to ever progress on the conflict. Like, and I think that we can see this with more compassion when we see it happen with Sam, right?
Yeah.
Like even when Sam's trying to have a conversation with Aussie, you can tell that Sam wants to say what she wants to say, but she's hesitant because she doesn't want to like set Aussie off and trigger Aussie's nervous system and then see that Aussie needs to leave the room. It's hard. It means you have to elicit so much patience because a conversation that you may feel like you can handle and have in 30 minutes with someone, this person can't have in 30 minutes in the same conversation, in the same timeline. And it means that you're going to take what could be a 30-minute conversation over the period of a week or two.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And I know that that fucking sucks and feels like you're never getting anywhere. And what I will say is that it can lead to conversations never really, or like conflict never getting resolved. But it can, but it means that the two of you, or with the support of a provider, really need to figure out what tools that you can use to leave room for all of that time that needs to be there because your partner is shutting down and they need to feel trusted to regulate in the ways that they know that works for them and to be able to come back. And you need tools that help you both say, we do need to finish this. We got to come back to it. Right?
Yep.
So that this stuff does get closed eventually.
Yeah.
But what I'm frustrated by in everyone else is that like everyone's just like naming the behavior of Aussie needing to leave and coloring it as this like you're just bailing. You can't deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just can't deal. Like grow up type of a thing. And it's really for the person who's struggling with it. And this is truly the best way that Aussie knows how to deal with conflict at this time of their life. And you might have feelings about that. You might judge them for that. But I want you to remember that there's a person inside of that that's like, oh my God, no one's hearing me. That like, I need this. I need this. And everyone's like, you can't do that. Why would you do that? But no one's actually intent on hearing why Aussie needs that. And I don't know if it's something that Aussie was able to talk about that they cut out. But if you're finding yourself in a relationship with someone who's avoidantly attached, you need to actually give someone space to say, like why this is important for them and why it's helpful for them to take space and what they're doing to
how you
help
can
that.
support them. Yeah. And so here's what I just want to say, because like I've dated an avoidant person before and what you said a second ago is so true. Like it feels like something that could be squashed in 30 minutes takes a week or two to actually resolve. And it's true. Now, here's from my understanding with the partner I'm alluding to here that was avoidant and also just in learning, and attachment theory, I know a handful of information about, but I don't want to claim to be an attachment expert. But here's the deal. A lot of avoidance, the trauma that creates the avoidant attachment, from what I've seen, is from usually a parent or caregiver that berates that person as a child. Like, you did this and da-da-da-da and da-da-da-da, and they don't stop and they just keep hammering on the kid to make the kid feel remorse about what they did wrong. And so then it causes this person to go internal and shut down because now all they hear is the screaming, the yelling, calling them, shaming them about, so they withdraw internally because they're like, I can't, this is my safe place. I need to be invisible right now. And for a lot of avoidance, that looks like leaving the building, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you get into the whole anxious avoidant dance, which is literally what we're seeing with Mildred. Mildred's anxiously attached. So she reads as someone leaving the building as a personal attack. You're neglecting me. You're abandoning me. And so that's her fight response comes on from there. And then which causes her to lash out more at Aussie and Aussie to go more internal because she's just being berated over and over and over.
Right.
This is the anxious avoidant dance that we so want to avoid. And so I just want to say, when we can look at someone's trauma responses, and right now we're focusing on Aussie wanting to leave, we need to understand that it's not, because this is the other thing that Mildred, she gets really contemptuous with Aussie about their age. They're 42. They need to communicate. They can't do that. And you might be seeing a 42-year-old person leave a room, but what you are really seeing is an inner child that is feeling like they are just completely being taken out to the woodshed. And so we like when we can look at it from a lens of that and approach it with compassion and not take it personally, because it wasn't. And I also really want to applaud Aussie here, because although Aussie was struggling with the avoidant, Aussie handled it so fucking well. Like maintained a tone and articulated, I won't talk to you when you're like this. They didn't scream back, right? It was
Yeah.
just, I'm going to take care of my needs. And honestly, that is such a great example of someone managing their avoidant attachment style with an inflamed partner. Like it
Right.
really was. And so I just want to applaud that too, because we could have seen way worse of an avoidant reaction with, they could have yelled back. Like there's so many other things. And so I just want to take a moment to say, for anyone out here who is looking for a way to like it was just such a good model of like, hey, I'm still down here in my energy and this is what I'm going to do. And I the reason I'm leaving is because I won't talk to you when you get like this. Like it was
Right.
just so like calm. I'm meeting my needs. And what we end up seeing is Aussie leaves a note for Mildred and they dip out. Aussie
Yeah.
decides to no longer continue, which was the best call they could make.
I agree. Like I think that Aussie knew and saw that this was going to continue to happen, and every time Aussie would come into the apartment, Mildred was going to want to talk. And Aussie knew that Mildred was not yet in a place to talk to them in a way that they needed to be talked to. So it was just going to be recurring, like triggers. Like their nervous system was going to continue to go offline. Like it just was going to continue to happen. So and here's my note for Mildred and for people who struggle with this. Just because you change your volume and you change your tone does not mean that you are creating a safe space.
No. And I don't think that she really did change her tone. I think she changed her volume. But she was like, what's wrong with my tone? And it's like, okay, can you not hear that? Like just the attitude in which you said that. And so I want to take this a step further and be like, yo, Mildred, when you have your fight response come online like that, take it to the pillow. Like, and this is why taking a time out and allowing yourself to feel your feelings, because it's understandable that Mildred's angry and frustrated. Like, I don't want to take that away from her. I fucking get it, girl. Like, you're trying to resolve something, you're trying to express yourself, and you're seeing someone you're living with shut down and want to leave the room. I so understand it. I've been there before. And you getting angry at them is not going to serve any kind of resolution. It's best for you to deal with your own anger, because those emotions are yours, and then reach a place where you can actually be like, I was really angry earlier and I'm sorry for allowing that anger to be lashed out at you. I want to resolve this with you. How are you feeling? Can I check in? Like, where are you at? Right? Like, if she could have at least done that, Aussie would be, okay, yeah, that feels better. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it's really interesting to see Mildred sort of go through actually like a full trauma response loop when she sees that note. Oh my gosh. And at first I was like, oh my God, Mildred is pretending like they don't have any feelings about Aussie not being here. But then we see her start to take it out on Aussie's laundry basket and then the trash that Aussie didn't take out. And then it leads to like Mildred really reflecting on the hurt that I was proud of her for getting here though. I will say, like, she's like, this is just reminding me of all of the times that I've been left, I've been abandoned, and I don't want to be left anymore. And I don't want to be abandoned. Like, I don't think that I deserve that. Yes, she's right. But it's Mildred's reluctance to see the role that she plays in these cycles that is going to continue to lead her to these outcomes.
Yes.
Every time.
Yes. This is trauma. This is trauma. Let's talk about it, okay? Mildred admits, I'm going to break it down because this is literally why I'm so obsessed with trauma work, because it will fuck you up if you don't do your trauma work. Mildred says, hey, I have a fear of abandonment. I'm tired of being abandoned. My mom left me when I was young, okay? So, mom left when she was young. Seems like Mildred develops fight response as an attempt to self-protect so she doesn't get abandoned, okay? So now she's in a relationship. The second she feels any kind of abandonment, right, or pulling away or inconsistency, her fight response comes online to protect her. But the self-fulfilling prophecy of, I don't want to be alone, I need to fight for this, get with me, come on, have the conversation with me, is the self-fulfilling prophecy that pushes people away from her, therefore reconfirming the original abandonment wound of her mom leaving her. This is trauma. This is why we need to fucking take our shit seriously if we really want to have healthy relationships. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
It was gorgeous. I can't believe we got that for free.
No, it's not that. I get so heated with this stuff because it's heartbreaking, honestly, to watch, because there is an answer. There is an answer for healthy relationships.
That really is the system. So like whatever your stuff is, if you don't relate to Mildred's experience with being abandoned, and you don't relate to Mildred's experience with like her anxious attachment style and how she like continues to draw people in to have a conversation that she feels very pressured to air out immediately, which I like makes me LOL when she's like, I guess no one's as direct as I am. I guess like you just don't have, you're not in relationships as direct in my household. Like, no, that's not what's happening here. But if you don't relate to those things, take your own experience and your own patterns or the things that you continue to see yourself in, and you can apply it and fill in those gaps in the same cycle, and it will be exactly as what Alex just described. So it really is the model for trauma reinforcing itself every time you're in conflict or experience the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And the only way we get a different result is to fix our shit. Or not even fix it. Fix is such a strong word. Be aware of it so then you can choose a different response. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nervous system regulation will help with that buffer period. Okay. Moving on.
Yeah. When okay, so let's go back to you're upset with Tiff at the table. Was it because they were sort of fiercely defending?
I don't want to say upset, but like that was where it became so clear. Like Tiff is accustomed to the verbal, because like Mildred does get verbal, emotionally abusive. Like she does a bit, you know. I don't think it's intentional to be abusive. It's not calculated in that way, but again, her fight response comes online and that's what happens. And so I think Tiff has gotten a little bit Stockholm syndrome-y with Mildred in the same way that Xander has with Vanessa. And so there's this knee-jerk reaction to defend the person they love, when in reality, I'm way more, let's talk about Mildred shit than Aussie's right now, because at least Aussie during their shit remained grounded. Mildred didn't. So I have a little bit more of an issue with the way Mildred handled it than Aussie, right? Can I see both sides and understand exactly what's going on? Yes. Simultaneously, my goal isn't so much to like rid us of avoidant or anxious attachment, and way more empower people to manage their avoidant and anxious attachments in healthy ways. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Look, listen, if you recognize an anxious or an avoidant attachment or any other kind of attachment that is not a secure attachment in yourself, the goal is not to just reach secure. The goal is to what can I learn about how this shows up for me, and how can I take care of myself through it? Because it will continue to show up for me. And the sooner that you expect that this is going to continue to be a part of your life, the more that you can feel a little bit more in control of it. It doesn't mean that it's going to go away, but you will feel more in the driver's seat of your own attachment style cycles than in the passenger, just like being taken for a ride.
Yeah, 100 for real. So that was my situation with Tiff. Yeah.
Okay. The last thing I just want to say is that like Sam coming back together with Aussie, it's so interesting. My tune has really changed on what I think the success level of their union is, unless Sam just continues to be as patient as she is and still allows room. Like if Aussie can allow for room for Sam to continue to work on what she's doing, which is like speak up, advocate for herself, advocate for the things that she cares about. And Aussie continues to do the work that Aussie is doing in making sure that they use whatever tools necessary to regulate and come back and deal with conflict. They could be in a really happy relationship together, or a really good one. But I don't love that this is coming up for me, but I just kind of want Sam to be I want Sam to be in the kind of relationship that Sam wants to be in. And I can't speak for her, but I imagine it
Yeah.
feels better than this one.
Yeah. I feel Sam when we first met Sam and Aussie, I agree. I was like, don't go on the show. You guys are so great. And I think that Sam, what she realized while being with Tiff is she's really ready for more. And so I don't think it's like she's not tolerant of Aussie anymore. I think it's way more like I'm really ready for this. And so I'm gonna push a little bit more for like what I want. And we can see that that's frustrating Aussie. But can I bring something up because I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this.
Mm-hmm.
When Aussie is triggered with Sam, in this instance where we kind of see Sam, there's a heavy sigh that Sam does when she's alone at the counter that to me very much was like, what do I want this? Like it felt like that kind of reflective moment of like, ooh, is this really what I want in a partnership? But before we get there, the reason I'm assuming Aussie was triggered is because Sam brings up, hey, the laundry basket thing, it came up with Mildred, it's coming up again now, right? Like she tries to say like, here's a pattern that came up with someone that was aired out that you were just with, and now it's coming up again. And Aussie goes, oh no, like, can you not bring Mildred up? Are you mini Mildreding me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was way more the thought of Mildred than what Sam was trying to say that triggered Aussie. Because what I think, I'm going to be very ambitious with this statement, but I will stand behind it as my
Mm-hmm.
hypothesis and educated guess. I feel that what Aussie experienced with Mildred was potentially one of the most traumatizing things that she's been through recently, with Mildred being so like coming at her and like not dropping it, right? Like even the first time we see conflict, Aussie goes, okay, I'll put in a better effort next week, I'm sorry. And Mildred
Mm-hmm.
kept berating her, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
really feel, and then it happens again, what's wrong with my tone,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I think that because it was so fresh, I think Aussie hasn't healed from that traumatic experience with Mildred. And I'm like, yes, it's little T trauma. It's still trauma. It still can be very
Yeah.
triggering.
Yeah.
But I think that that is still running in her, like she hasn't fully processed and let that go. And so she's very much on edge just hearing Mildred's name. And so that was my educated guess on it. Was I think Sam was like, wow, you're upset I'm bringing the laundry basket up. And I think it was less that and more the Mildred comment.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't really fault Sam for bringing this in because this isn't triangulation in the way that we've seen it in other
No.
partners. This to me sounded like context of like, hey, this is not actually
I'm
just a pattern
noticing.
with you and I'm realizing that this is a pattern with you, like kind of everywhere. And I just want to let you know like how that's sitting for me. And I agree with you. Like, I think it had way more to do with the fact that Mildred was even mentioned
Brought up
that sent Aussie to a place.
into a
I hadn't
spiral.
really thought about it as an indicator that Aussie has not yet processed that experience. And since hearing you mention that makes a lot of sense to me. And if that's the case, and like, what I do think that partners who are truly like not in any rush on their timeline as partners and like not in a rush to like figure their shit out. Like Sam and Aussie have stuff to deal with, but I really think it would best serve their relationship together, not just Aussie, would be to shift gears and focus in on taking care of Aussie following that experience with Mildred and really like creating a super safe space to be like, hey, what was that like for you? That must have been really hard. I know you to need to leave conversations. I've never known you to leave the house. I don't know if that's factually true in their history, but
Right.
like let's as a person who cares about you, let's just talk about that.
Totally. Yeah. 100.
Sometimes you got to
Wild,
put your
right?
shit aside. Sometimes you have to put your
Yeah.
shit aside and your own agenda, even though your stuff matters. You have to put your shit aside to take care of the person that's like hurting.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That's all.
this is where the ego mind loves to come on board. And we see this with Lexi and Ray too, where it's like, I'm hurting. I'm hurting. No, I'm hurting. Like we don't verbally say that, but the energy is like, but this is how I felt, but this is how I felt, but you did this and then I did this. And it's like, oh my God, we're 5 on the playground again. Like it's the
Yeah.
funniest thing to watch because that's really the wounds that are coming up is like, I can't talk about your pain because I'm hurting. Well, I can't talk about your pain because I'm hurting. And so
Right.
this is a very normal and natural thing. Of course, we are the main characters in our story. So we're going to give a fuck about how we're feeling before we, we have to teach empathy. We have to teach consideration to children. We aren't naturally like that when you think about how we come out of the womb. It's my toy.
True.
Give me my shit, right? So
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
we're
totally.
triggered and we're in our feels, that kind of toddler mentality is going to come back because of what's happening in the nervous system. And so when we start to notice that in conversation with our partner, where they're bringing up how they feel, and then instead of me taking the time to get curious and validate how my partner's feeling, I'm starting to flip into, but this is how I feel. That is a sign that y'all need to take a break before this spirals out of control, you know? So,
Yes. Speaking of, let's shift gears to Lexi, Ray, Mal, and
okay.
eventually Yoli.
Yeah.
Okay. This is why I want to pie Lexi. We see
Yes.
Lexi, a couple different series here. We see Lexi bring Mal to Lexi's parents, which is
Yes.
interesting to say the least. Then we see
Her dad was giving shitty vibes.
it was something was weird about that.
Oh, I analyzed it. I watched it back twice.
Okay, I'm gonna want to hear your thoughts. Then Lexi and Ray reconnect. The 5-year-old sandbox duking out happens
Yep.
wherever they are, in the
Yes.
apartment, out to
Yes.
dinner. I couldn't believe that they were having that conversation out to dinner
In front
with
of their
Lexi's
parents.
parents.
Yes.
I
I
could
know.
not believe that. And on the beach. I don't know which
Yes.
happened first, beach or parents, but like it was no matter where they were engaging in that. And I was like, you guys, like, haven't you figured
Time
out
to
that
break up.
you need to deal with this conversation differently than how you're doing it, because it will I love that they did the edit of the seagulls fighting over
Yeah.
the leftover, the takeout container. Cause I was like, even though
That's
this
what
makes
is
me
happening.
sad that they're like fight, like the food and the litter and the beach, and that was sort of like distracting me. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, this is actually really perfect imagery of what I feel like is happening between the two of them right now.
Yeah. Same.
They're just fighting for what's theirs, and they're trying to be the one that's like getting space and taken up. And anyway, I have more thoughts on like the Ray Lexi thing. What was really interesting is while Lexi's still with Mal and Lexi's with her parents with Mal, she's like, I want Mal to be in my life forever. Fair. That's fine. Because that can take whatever shape that looks like. I'm hearing that and I'm not like, oh, Lexi wants to be with Mal forever. Lexi wants to have Mal as a part of her life forever.
Yeah.
I think that Lexi's drive and determination is so useful in so many areas of her life. I don't think it's useful here, because all that
Agreed.
it is really kind of like goalifying, if that's even a word,
Yeah.
goalifying having a relationship and the marriage and the family and the thing,
Yep.
instead
Yep.
of like, if you're steamrolling towards a goal
Yes.
and you do not care if it feels right, if it looks right. You're just like, I love this person, I want this person, this is my goal, we're diving headfirst towards my goal. That's all I'm hearing is, this is my goal, this is what I want, and therefore this person's here, they want this with me too, they are giving it what I want. And Mal,
Yeah.
I'm concerned about, because
Yep.
Mal's hesitation with Yoli, amongst probably many other things, but Mal's hesitation with Yoli is, one, am I different from all of the other people that you water when you're with? Two, I feel more certain about marriage. Like, I feel like I want to marry you, but I also want to get our shit together first. That security is important. So what's confusing to me is, why is it that with Lexi, Mal, it doesn't have the same concerns, even though they really should. They
For
really should,
real.
because Lexi is taking a tiny amount of time together and is like, yep, you fit into my life. I want you forever. You could be this person for me. You could get married with me. And they have nothing in order the way that Mal has decided that would feel best for them to move towards marriage. It's not, that math is not mathing for me.
Yeah. Well, God, I see this with children as well. Like, people can do this with marriage and with children. They have this, like, I need to have babies. I need to get married. that they hyper fixate on that goal with, like you said, without being like, but is this a partner I want to have a baby with? Is this a partner I want to get married to? Right?
Right.
Like, it's just goal, and whoever is on the goal path with me is the one I'm going to choose, is like really what it feels. It's less about, is Mal a better partner for Lexi, or is Ray a better partner for Lexi? And it's way more, which one of you guys is willing to marry me by the end of the show, is like how it feels. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because she's so focused. Yeah.
100%.
And yeah, and it's not going to serve her, and this is really where her age shows, because like, girl, what's worse, bulldozing your way down the aisle and getting married to someone that you're going to end up getting a divorce from in 6 months to a year, or taking your time that 6 months to a year to date consciously and really intentionally and actually finding a healthy partnership where you can have a sustainable marriage long term? Like, what poison would you rather choose, right? Like,
Totally.
so yeah,
And there's no foresight for
no,
Lexi, which is so interesting, because I don't think that her judge of character is off. She picks good partners. Ray's a good person.
She is.
Mal is
Amazed.
desirable.
Yes.
Mal is a good pick, but the way that Lexi is only focused and cannot see beyond, it works right now, so of course it's going to continue to work, is really hurting her. And I'm just like, Lexi, you, like, I know that you want to get married, and I know that you think that you're big boss babe, but the fact is that you are only 24, and so you have a lot more about life to learn. You have a lot more about yourself to learn. And she knows a lot. I'm not saying that she's not a mature person, but you met your partner, Ray, when you were 21. Like, you started dating that person when you were 21. Like, I don't know, babe. Like, there's give it more time. My goodness.
Your brain's not even formed till you're 25. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
And that shit matters.
It does matter, because it's like, but the part of your brain that is the last part to be developed is the part of our brain that we supposedly use the most, which is actually not true. But that's the part of our brain that we make logical decisions with. We're able to take perspective. Like it's just, when we are trying, and that's the funny thing, is like, we make decisions with that part of our brain, and yet when it's not fully formed at the age of 24 and you're trying to make a lifelong decision, it's like, oh my God, like, don't. Like, can we please normalize getting married after the age of 26? I want to say 30 personally, but I know there's people out there that are like, I'm 26. You have a better shot at figuring it out at 26 than 24.
I have said this. I don't know if I've said this on this podcast, but I say it a lot. Like, I used to be really jealous of like my friends who did end up getting married to the people that they've been with since like eternity. I had a lot of my own shame and guilt for being this like forever single person, and for struggling with like having to date online when it was like, really felt like such a painful experience. And I was just like, I would look at their relationships and like fantasize, like the right word that I mean is romanticize their relationships and be like, they don't have to do what I'm doing right now. And that makes me upset. That makes me sad. That makes me jealous. And now, like, listen, like, I have a lot of really beautiful relationships in my life. Like my friends' relationships are beautiful. They're not perfect. No one's is.
Of course.
But I watch them struggle with things that they struggle with, not only because they're human, but because they've been in relationships that they started when they were 19, 20 years old. Yep. Like, I take comfort now in the fact that the person that I do end up committing long-term to, I will have started that relationship when I am beyond 30, which previously would have scared the shit out of me, and now feels like my greatest tool, because I know myself better and I know what I want more. So I have like just math, like there's more room for success in who I pick, because I'm not operating from this place of, holy fuck, I just need to get this over with. I just need to pick someone. I just need to be picked. And well, I'll just take whatever I get. Now I'm like way more intentional. And I couldn't have gotten there unless I became older.
Exactly. So this came up with the person I was watching this with, and it was such a good conversation because I'm like, the way that I was trying to explain this is we get married younger, we put a lot of pressure on the relationship to be the container that we grow and emotionally mature in, which can cause a lot of friction. Because what we're
Mm-hmm.
saying is like, you don't fully know yourself, your brain's not fully formed. So there's like skills that you need to develop, and all of this takes time. And it's like, as you grow and evolve in your early mid 20s, you learn so much more about yourself. You have life experience where it causes you to look at things from a more emotionally mature light. But when we get married early 20s, and talking from personal experience, I just want to remind everyone I got
Right.
married at 20 and divorced at 23.
Right.
So I'm talking from personal experience. And by the way, that was with someone I knew for 5 years before we got
Yeah.
married. We were neighbors. So like I knew
Yeah.
this person for a long time.
Right.
Okay. So it's like when we get married young, we are putting the expectation on our partner and the pressure on our partner to remain with us and committed to us while we figure ourselves out, while we grow in emotional maturity. And we're doing all of that in the container of this relationship. That can cause such a challenge. It can be so challenging. There are people that do it, a maze, right? You will have less of that when you are older, wiser, more mature, know yourself more, and dating
Mm-hmm.
becomes more efficient because now that you know what you're looking for and what your own worth is, assuming that you've done the inner work, like
Mm-hmm.
it's, you don't put up with stuff, and that clarity is there. So it's just like, I I really want people to understand that, because I think people rush to get married, like you said, for the sake of like, I don't need to look for a partner anymore. I have someone to do all my social things with. Like, this is great. Guaranteed you're going to be around me. So I don't have to be. I think a lot of people romanticize marriage in the sense that that's going to make me feel more secure in the relationship, which is like,
Yeah.
nah, that's not
No.
true. Like, marriage will not fix
No.
that for you. Neither will a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah,
Please.
I just, for real. Yeah. And so it's like, we need to look at it way more realistically, which is
Mm-hmm.
why we have this show.
Yeah. Okay. Let's close out with Yoli and Mal. So Yoli and Mal come back
Oh,
together.
Jesus. Yeah.
And I felt I truly I do feel for both of them in this experience
Yeah.
because again I while I'm sure that there's critical thoughts and opinions, and I wonder how you feel about Yoli. I'm sure that there's critical thoughts and opinions about Yoli who like really like open herself up to like being in love with Xander. And I actually think that it's very human that she's coming back into her situation with Mal and struggling a little. Like she was like, I
Yeah.
was just with this person. I'm used to seeing this person. Like, I think that that's normal. And I feel for her. I think that her ability to be open to the people in front of her is a strength, not a weakness. But I do
Agreed.
understand Mal's concern about like, but I don't even know if I'm special. I want to do these things with you, but I don't feel secure in this because I don't know if you're just choosing me. I don't know if you're choosing me because of me or if you're choosing me because I'm also choosing you right back. And
Mm.
I believe Mal when they say, I love you and
Mhm.
like, I want these things with you. I don't know how sold I am on like the promises that they're trying to make,
Me
but
too.
it's hard to say. What do you think?
I think Mal is doing damage control right now. I think this is the most like I'm putting unhealthy in air quotes that we've seen from Mal, because up until now they've been such a grounded force in their relationships, and like so validating, and seeing and coming at their partners from a place of curiosity and wanting to understand. But in this moment, I think is the first time where we see Mal gets triggered and start to act out from that triggered place. And act
Right.
out has such a like tantrumy type vibe. I don't mean that. She was still very, or sorry, they were still very grounded in their energy. But the difference here is that Mal starts to say, I've always wanted to marry you. I want to marry you. I'm not saying that it's bad that you love Xander. I think Xander's great, but how are we going to make it? I felt that there were times where Mal was like alluding to thruple vibes, like,
Hmm.
not intentionally, like, let's all be together, but I felt that they were trying to validate and say, like, I'm not upset that you love Xander. I just
Mm-hmm.
also want to marry you. So how can we make that work? And I was like, that's interesting, because like, how many people can say I want to marry you and have babies with you, and I'm also recognizing and honoring the fact that you love this other person. And then Yoli finally chimed in and was like, but I don't even know what that looks like. So there was like, I started to get curious, because I'm like, are we going to do that? Because that would be a really interesting conversation, and I would be totally open to having a throuple. Like, let's do that. One of my favorite people is in a throuple. So it's like, I'm open to this conversation. And I think it would be great for us to.
I don't know if that's exactly
What her
what they were
intention was.
saying. Yeah, I don't know if it's at that. I mean, there's room for that to be one possibility, but I think when I was hearing that, I had a similar like ear, like, what's that? But I think where I was coming from is like, what is it like to move forward in a relationship with this person that you love, while knowing that you have this feeling and this affection for another person, but you're committing to not pursuing that relationship anymore.
And I don't think that that's what Yoli's trying to say. I think Yoli's trying to say, I need to figure it out. And I think Mal is trying to say, yeah, we're going to figure it out because you're with me and I'm acknowledging, you know what I mean? Like, it felt very like you're mine. And then when we see the shot of them at the evening when they're cuddling and going to bed, Mal's like, we'll get through this. And it's like, you're really making that assumption. You're not giving Yoli any space to be like, what do you want? I'm going to let you figure it out. Do you want me or Xander? And that's what I mean by like, what's Mal's intent? Are they thinking of like thruples? Because how can you do that? How can you say, I acknowledge you love this other person, but I'm going to be the one that you have babies with and get married to? That just doesn't add up to me. You know what I mean? So I'm like, what's your intent?
I agree that it feels in the vein of damage control to not lose Yoli. And this is a hypothesis. I don't have any facts on this, but I wonder if Mal's tune changed when Mal had Lexi meet one of their best friends. And Mal's best friend was like, listen, like, it's really kind of hard for me to get on board with this like new wifey that I've never met. I've literally never known, when Yoli and I have a good relationship, because Yoli's been a part of your life for the last 3 years. And I've seen you guys be in a relationship for the last 3 years. And like, I knew that before this experience started, you were like doing it.
All about it.
Yeah, all about it. So like, forgive me if I'm not totally, like, I saw that this person was defensive of Yoli, which I relate to. Like, if one of my best friends just showed up with a different person and was like, blah, 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 this is someone that I'm seeing, I'd be like, okay, well, what about my homie?
Yeah.
I know, listen, the homie's not perfect, but I know that like there was a thing there. Like, let's make room for that conversation. I wonder if having that perspective from a person that existed in Mal's life before the show ever started changed their tune a little
100%.
bit. And maybe kind of, I needed something
brought
to
her back down to earth.
I agree. Exactly. I needed something to burst the bubble of Lexi and Mal being like, we're so perfect for each other. We're like soul siblings, like soul vibes. Like, I think I started to see Mal respond to Lexi differently when when Lexi was like, I want us to be in each other's lives forever. Don't you see that? And Mal's kind of like, yeah, for the first time that I've seen.
Yep.
In an edit.
Yeah.
Anything else?
They pulled away a lot. No, I'm just really curious to see what happens, because honestly, I feel Yoli and Xander should leave together. I feel like they're such a great couple. And it's not because I don't love Mal. I think Mal there's a different, better partner out there for them than Yoli.
Yeah, I agree. Predictions. Yeah. I think, unfortunately, because I'm being realistic, not with my desire, I think that Vanessa and Xander are going to stay together.
No,
I know.
Don't say it.
Because we know the cycle of abuse is like too strong. Mm-hmm. It's the pull is too hard, and Xander's not having enough space to like really get grounded. So if Vanessa wasn't just like right there, maybe, but ideally, like, I'd love to see Xander and Yoli leave. I think Lexi and Ray might split. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I think Mildred and Tiff absolutely should split. I don't know if they will. And
I'm worried they might get married.
And Sam and Ossia will probably stay together, if I'm totally honest.
Okay. I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah.
Yo, what are we ditching this week?
Oh my God.
We're ditching. I'll tell you what I want everyone to ditch.
Yeah.
It's a very, and this is not for the faint of heart. So for all you folks out there that are like, how do I have a super mature, conscious relationship? This is for you.
Mm-hmm.
When your partner is triggered, get curious. Don't get defensive. That
Yes.
is a high, and it's hard to do because when someone else gets triggered, it usually triggers something within you. So regulate that nervous system and expand that window of tolerance. But literally, if we could do that in our relationships, I think a lot of relationships wouldn't fail. I think a lot of people, I think a lot of relationship failures are from that place of, no, I'm hurting, you can't hurt, I'm hurting, you can, instead of, it's like, we're going to talk about my triggers, not your triggers. It's like when we can just like, okay, yes, my turn will come, but right now I'm going to just lean into your trigger. So many relationships would probably succeed and go the distance if we could figure out how to do that.
I could not agree more. We kind of have to have like a fire safety approach to it. It's like, if the dog isn't fed and the baby is crying, but the stove is on fire, you got to take care of the fire first.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm ditching the goal-oriented marathon, like
Towards
finish
marriage and
line.
babies.
Yeah, towards marriage and babies. I think what I would love to hear from Lexi, and if she was a client of mine, I'd be like, why is it so important to get married as soon as you
Yeah. What does
possibly
it
can?
mean if you don't? I'm curious.
I have to know.
Yeah.
I have to know, because I think it's what's underneath that is going to expose the raw nerve of why she does this with her people. And I don't blame her for being frustrated with Ray after 3 years of Ray's sort of like hesitation. I get that. But I think that she needs to sort of like open that up and be curious about that for herself.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
Okay. Right. So, honestly,
y'all.
That's
it, folks.
This is one of the best episodes we've done yet. I'm going to say it.
I felt, okay, great. There were definitely parts where I was like, did that make sense, what I was trying to explain? So if anyone has questions, you slide into our DMs.
Please. So you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok, Ditch the Script Pod. You can go to our website to ask us a question about your own personal life or request a mini session at www.ditchthescriptpod.com/podcast. And if you can and you like this, please go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify just to rate us and review us, whatever options are available. We got to spread the word because we're doing education.
Yeah, we are. We are doing it. All
okay.
right. Love you guys.
Love you. Bye.